You're not understanding me. You're misunderstanding me, okay? In your world, an interesting conversation is where me and Jordan Peterson see how lightly we can touch our together, okay, for 2 hours, okay, without making the other person come or cry. That's, in your mind, that's an interesting conversation. I don't consider those to be successful conversations. I don't like any conversation I've had this year with any conservative figure. I don't like any of them. All of them have been garbage conversations. I've enjoyed conversations I had in the blood sports era. Oh, Jesus.
Hey, babes.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hold on, let me fix my shit real quick. So, holy shit, are you calling me?
No.
What the fuck? My bad, being a boomer.
Oh.
So, if
you heard the stream in the background.
Say that again?
You heard the stream calling in the background.
Yeah, my bad. So what I wanted to ask was if Trump is an insurrectionist, like threatening to end democracy if he wins again, and it looks like he's going to win, right? Like, let's pretend it looks like he's going to win. We don't know, obviously. Do you think the next logical step is to shoot him?
The next logical step? Probably not.
What would that be then?
I don't know. Probably protests. You should probably exhaust every single legal mean you have available to you before you move to forms of nonviolent demonstrations, and you should exhaust every single nonviolent option available to you before you move on to targeted violent demonstrations. Like, there's like a escalatory path that you would take. It would probably look pretty similar to what MLK did for the civil rights stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So why do you think, like, when you're arguing all these like points about the, the electorates or whatever not being like being false electorates, and that going through like all the courts and being like proven that he put up false electorates, and even that one guy that was against you, Rob, acknowledged that. Why do you think none of the conservative people like know about it or talk about it?
Because conservatives have been allowed to play by a different rule book, and because liberals have been eternally liberals have been eternally cucked on their media talking points ever since Trump has been in office. I don't know how, but conservatives have this magical ability to dictate the standards that we're allowed to hold our candidates to and the things that we're allowed to talk about. I don't know how it's happened. Maybe it's because they're constantly on the attack, or maybe it's because they have no moral standards for what they expect their representatives to have. But yeah, so we only have to talk over and over and over again about things relating to the Democrats or things relating to Biden or whatever, and there's absolutely no responsibility. It's like, imagine that you're a board of college professors, and two people are before you who are trying to defend their PhD, their thesis, and you've got like a grad student, and you've got like a 4-year-old, and the grad student defends his thesis, and there are issues with it, and so you critique him, and then the 4-year-old goes to defend it, and every time you try to critique the 4-year-old, people are like, bro, he's just 4 years old. Somehow conservatives have gotten away with setting the media like that. That's the standard. Like, when you look at the debates, for instance, and you see that like Biden has issues like speaking, and he's either losing his mind or going to stand or whatever the I don't know what it is. Clearly there's some issue there, right? Like, everybody talks about it. Nobody talks about the fact that Donald Trump doesn't say anything. Here's a question. Do you know what policy platform the conservatives are even running on right now?
No.
Do you have any idea what the Trump's plans are for the economy, for immigration, for foreign policy, for healthcare? For literally anything, the Republicans they don't even run on policy.
For Republicans, if you're looking for that, I'm just saying. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you'd ask any Republicans, they would have no idea, because Donald Trump doesn't have any idea. There is no platform. They don't even have a policy platform right now. They just run on vibes and Down syndrome. That's literally it. It's anti-woke. That's their platform. That's it.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, no, you're good, dude. It's a lot to take in, because obviously I don't really know anything about this, and there's not really easily consumable videos like going over and highlighting.
I agree, but the issue why you can't do it is because as soon as you start to talk negatively about Donald, here's the issue. Donald Trump came in and he was a uniquely substandard human being. Okay, he was disgusting in a variety of ways. He cheated on multiple wives. He fucked a porn star and then paid her off to lie about it while he cheated on his own wife. That's why his current wife is leaving him. That's why you don't see her with him anywhere. Okay, he's been engaged in all sorts of like debaucherous, horrible, disgusting behavior. He's on recording saying he can grab women by the pussy because he's famous, right? Because he's done so many horrible things.
I mean, people don't really care about that shit, right?
Yeah, but
this is obviously a whole other level of
that's
shit.
Fine, but the problem is that when he's done so many unhinged things, if you say anything about it, they can just say, oh, Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, because he's done so much crazy shit. If you say anything about it, you're deranged apparently. So you just have to accept like, well, okay, I guess that like Donald Trump just gets to act this way. That's why you haven't heard of any of the things that he said. That's why in every single one of these rooms, not like no conservative, and I've talked to a lot of like big, like decently sized conservatives in real life, like, wait, electorate scheme? Wait, what's that again? Who don't even have any idea. But that's the reason why you can't talk about the bad things that Donald Trump does. You can only talk about the bad things liberals do. That's it. You just expect that conservatives are immoral, subhuman. That's the expectation. Yeah.
As a fucking normie, right? As like a super normie, I don't know fucking day. Like me hearing a lot of this is for the first time, like today,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's shocking to me that I could go and watch like all these I don't know what I mean. I guess I'm on your stream, right? Retarded like ass documentaries about like 9/11 conspiracies, going into like the nitty gritty of one guy seeing something on the street one day at like the bottom of a fucking elevator in the towers or some shit, and then I can't get a full thing, like a full doc or some shit video essay going over like the court documents of this thing. Does that make sense? Like, how is there not like an A to B? Like, the best was your video that I watched the other day.
Did I even? Yeah, I read every single indictment and every single criminal statute related to him. Did I have?
But obviously, that's like over the course of a month's worth of streams or whatever.
No, yeah, I'm trying to think of something I've been trying to do afterwards. I did it with the immunity case. I'm trying to have like a concise 15-minute video. Afterwards, yeah, to summarize it. Yeah, I mean, I guess I have to be like the sole person in the media to carry this on my back because apparently nobody else does any substantive coverage of this.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, how is it not anywhere? Like, do you know the Andrew Tate shit, right? Like, you were actually ahead of the ball on that like months and months before. But then when I made my videos, making that like a consumable 15-minute video,
sure, you're
obviously got a lot farther with people because it's like, here's the logic, here's the steps, there's the receipts. It's hard to deny that when it's all laid out like that, dummy proof.
Sure, you're right. You know what? Yeah, okay, that'll be my next.
Because I'd love to make a video on it because it's crazy, obviously, but it's like I'm legally illiterate on a lot of this shit. You know, it's like way out of my
I will do it. I'll do it just because you asked me. And I should. You're right. I should. I will do it. Okay, I will do it. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
I sound just. I'm not. I don't mean to sound. I will. Okay.
No. I think you've been No, I mean, this dude, obviously this is crazy. When you first started tweeting about it, I was like, holy shit, this guy's like fully unhinged. And then when I hear you, I'm like, holy shit, is this elector stuff like true?
I know,
like,
nobody knows about this, but it's none of it. Like, for instance, okay, like, and you can look up Trump transcript, where Trump's speech, a key part of impeachment. Okay, this NPR article, right? If you look up a transcript of the speech that he gave on that day, everybody likes to bring up that peacefully and patriotically. I know that everyone here will soon be marching, over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Right before that, the thing that he says is, because you'll never take back our country with weakness, you have to show strength and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Those electors that he's talking about there, those are the fake ones that he sent to Pence. That's what he's talking about right there. When he talks about Mike Pence, and Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us, and if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country because you're sworn to uphold. What he's talking about is he's telling Mike Pence, you have to throw out the legitimate votes and choose the fake ones that we send in. That's what he's talking about here. That's what all of this is about. But I'll put it.
I had no clue what he was referring to.
That's fine. Okay. Yeah, I will put it together video.
Dude, when I watched the video for like a week ago of you of like August put together, whoever your editor is for that thing, that's like so far into your stream, and when that one clip played, I was like, whoa, holy shit, is that what that's referring to? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a whole lot of like people talking about that shit, or I should say you're talking about it, or maybe like you see like a fucking tweet about it, but it's like I didn't know it was that like blatantly put together.
Okay, yeah, I'll put something together on it, sure.
Cool. I think that's it, man. I mean, is there anything else you want to
well, now my moment of glory, okay, got completely fucking glossed over.
What do you mean?
See what I mean? And then I'm going to say it and you're going to feel bad.
No, don't do it then.
It was exposing Boogie.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, commentary hero for like a day when you did that. It's gone, bro.
Yeah, Jesus. Now we're on the new arc. This fucking shooter needed to wait like 2 more weeks so I could bask in the destruction of his fucking career.
I know, bro. You fucking dropped the ball on that one. The fucking commentary space. You're going to have half of them at your throat, dude.
I know. Well,
cool, man. All right. Well, good luck with everything. I'm
Okay.
glad you talked to me.
Yeah, no problem. I love you. Be careful, buddy.
I'll be perfectly sidelined with no opinion until I learn more. So good luck, bro.
Yeah, you're good. Have fun. Be careful. Okay.
Deuces.
As a quick thing for like the 7 people that even give a fuck anymore, people in the subreddit were talking about how were talking about how it was unfair for me to like medically diagnose Boogie, or that like I didn't have enough information to medically diagnose him because I don't have the background. That is true, but I wasn't working on strictly medical information. I was working on Boogie's character for a large part of that. Every single thing that Boogie had said pointed towards that secondary polycythemia. It all pointed towards that. However, even after every single thing he said, it is possible that he actually had the cancer. He did have polycythemia vera. That was possible. I couldn't know 100%. The only reason why I pushed as hard as I did is because I caught myself, or I didn't catch myself, but I prepared at the start of that conversation. I asked him explicitly, I said, did your doctor tell you that you had cancer? And he waffled on it. I think he said like something like, well, he said polycythemia. I think he waffled on it. Okay. And then after he waffled, that's why I leaned in really hard, is because, okay, he did. No doctor, in my limited opinion, all right, no doctor is going to give a cancer diagnosis in vague terms to a patient and then send them home afterwards without going over it a lot. Nobody's going to say like, oh yeah, so it looks like you've got like a leukemia or whatever, like good luck, go home. And then like somebody goes home like, leukemia, wait, cancer? Wait, what? Like no doctor is going to do that. That's insane. That's unhinged. So yeah, after he said that, then I was able to lean in more and then ask him questions about it. And there was also, I regret this because I should have, I had this in my mind. I even read this beforehand and I didn't bring it up. I don't know why. And I missed one thing. Where is KKMD? It's possible that Boogie said something that was dispositive, but I would have to push him on exactly what he meant. Also, I need to go back and I had to read all the hormone markers. Could be wrong. There is a hormone that can be present in your blood that when this hormone is produced, it causes you to produce more red blood cells. Is it EOP? Hormone for RBC production. EPO. One of the things that Boogie said over and over and over again was, I have this hormone marker. I think he said, I have this elevated hormone. If you have the elevated hormone, I think that means almost certainly you don't have polycythemia vera, because the indication for polycythemia vera, because when you have this hormone, it means that your body is producing more red blood cells. If one of the diagnostic ways to diagnose polycythemia vera is to have a decrease in that hormone, but still have an elevated RBC. And I think there are 2 other things where I don't know the terms for it, but you can have an elevated shit. Because if the hormone is low, and you still have lots of red blood cells and 2 other things, then that means that I think that's enough to diagnose the cancer. However, if instead of saying hormone, what he should have said and what I should have asked for, I should have just screamed this the whole time. What you're really looking for is a genetic test for the JAK2 mutation. JAK2 is a mutation in a gene that if you have this mutation and you have an elevated red blood cell count with a low EPO hormone marker, that's enough, I believe, to diagnose polycythemia vera. You don't need the bone marrow biopsy for that. I should have focused on the JAK2 mutation. That's what I should have focused on asking. But regardless, that's your that was the meme on all of that. But irrespective of me bringing up those 2 points, the way that he navigated that conversation, it was painfully obvious. It was painfully obvious that he was lying and scamming about the JAK2 is probably the test he wanted to get now. No, I don't think he is getting a JAK2 test because it sounds like his hormone is elevated because it is secondary polycythemia, which I don't even think is what is technically call it. You call it like there was another word for it, I don't remember. But anyway, that was the Boogie shit. Not that we give a about the Boogie shit anymore, but he was lying about cancer for 2 years. Fuck him. Okay. What do you want?
You have the worst fucking audience.
Yeah, I have the worst audience of all the. Yeah, okay, that's cool. I'm glad you're new to the internet. You haven't been engaged with a lot of audiences, but go ahead, tell me what else.
I've spent years being questioned on your stream thousands of times for being a fucking stochastic terrorist over and over again. What are you implying by that, Lauren? What are you going to push your audience to do if you say that the situation is X amount of hopeless? Constantly on your stream, by Pisco, by Lycan, by everyone. The one time I do the same thing to you and I say, hey, what did you mean by that? Do you think that your rhetoric might lead people to think a violent insurrection against, I don't know, Trump, if he's elected next election, might lead to something like that? Might make it sound like it's okay? Your audience are literally on Reddit saying blacklist me forever because I'm trying to get you banned, as if I would ever support that.
Unhinged. This is the difference, okay? I'm not out here like denying the implications of things that I'm saying. It's pretty obvious. I'm not trying to walk in the back. I'm just not like going to go to the max extent of like Fed posting on a fucking Twitter space where everybody's max fucking reporting me. However, one thing I will say, I'm going to reiterate this, and I said this over and over and over again in the past. You can go back and watch every single Jan 6 video I did, okay? I said over and over and over again, I said, listen, if you think that the election was legitimately fucking stolen, you should be doing an insurrection. You're literally having your country stolen from you. I would understand why people would engage in violent protest there. I've said that over and over and over again. People seem to have this idea that because I've said, oh, these people shouldn't be violently protesting, that means that there's like never a case where that is like what should happen. The issue I've had in the past is that usually the people are saying it for retarded reasons. So for instance, well, the biggest issue that I have with people on the left is when they say things like, oh, fuck voting, we shouldn't do that. We just need to violently protest. Why the fuck would you say fuck voting and go right to violence? That doesn't make any sense, right? That doesn't mean that in every single case, I think it's necessarily a bad thing to do. I'm just saying that in the circumstances people advocated for, it's generally retarded because the factual foundation is not there. That's what I've said. You can go back and find it over and over again where I've said over and over again, but.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You're consistent. But would you agree with your audience in blacklisting me for my line of questioning?
Well, I haven't blacklisted you, have I? But everybody, it sounded like you were hardcore Fed posting. I determine my blacklist, not my audience.
I'm really trying to figure out the level of unhinged we are dealing with right now. Like
the level of unhinged. I was pretty clear in what I say. I said again, the level of unhinged is if people get blown away at fucking rallies or whatever the where they're championing like an insurrectionist. I have no sympathy for it. That's like if you want, we can have an off-stream conversation about the full implications. I wouldn't advocate for violence. I don't think anybody should go out and be killing anybody for a variety of reasons, of which I detailed in that space. I think that the first step should always be legal processes. The next step should always be committed forms of nonviolent protest. And then if it escalates, then you start going through, I guess, violent change. You really feel like you have to. But those are like your pathways. You have to exhaust every stage before you move to the next.
So if the legal processes don't work, but you disagree with them, because I keep hearing you say, like, oh, Trump keeps getting away with it anyways. Like, he's just getting away with it. They're letting him, pardon all of his friends, all of this. Isn't this kind of similar to the opinions that right-wingers have towards the election? No, the processes aren't working properly, therefore I get to rise up.
Let's say that in a country, somebody passed a law saying that we were allowed to f children as young as 2 years old. And let's say that in another country, somebody passed a law that lowered the tax bracket for billionaires from 39% to 35%. Do you think that both people have equal justification for protesting those laws?
Sorry, repeat that.
If a country passes a pro-child rape law and another country changes their tax brackets, do you think that both people in both countries have equal justification for protesting the laws?
Okay, well, I think in both cases, it's just a matter of, I don't think that Trump not being charged is equivalent to.
I never said it was equivalent.
Child rape.
I didn't say it was equivalent.
I think it was.
I'm asking you for I'm asking you.
Yeah, no, of course it's not.
Okay, there you go. Okay. But the reason why is because you're doing in your mind a factual analysis of what the people are protesting. So when you say, Destiny, when you say that you could protest this or you wouldn't have sympathy with this, isn't this kind of like what right-wingers said? Well, I mean, in terms of like the actions, maybe, but the underlying factual analysis is entirely fucking different. When conservatives say things like, oh no, progressives are stealing the government, they don't have a factual foundation generally to say things like that. When people say, oh no, Donald Trump is fundamentally altering like the power of like how the branches are operating in order to serve his own interests, there is a factual foundation for that, I would argue. So I would say there's a difference in both scenarios.
Do you think that if you've got that factual foundation, which don't get me wrong, I am interested in, when you were talking about the actually reading the indictments, and clearly when you do your debates, most of the people who do them against you haven't read them. I haven't read them. I'll be honest with that. I'm very interested in reading them. In fact, listening to some of your content has made me interested in actually delving into that content and made me think twice about, oh, you know, the people I follow on Twitter don't usually share that stuff. It is kind of annoying that a lot of the politics is over memes and this and that. And it's kind of cool to hear when you talk about, oh, here's some things you should check out, Lauren. Do you think you might be hurting your chances of doing that more by telling every conservative that follows you to fuck off and never subscribe to your channel again and that you hate them all?
I would never, I didn't say that to conservatives. I just said to people that support Donald Trump. There's a few conservatives out there who don't.
I'm like 90% sure you said conservative. You're like, I'm sure we've got 1,000 conservatives left here. You can all f off.
I think I said over and over again conservatives that support Trump. But you know what? If I misspoke, then if you're a conservative and you don't support Trump, you're welcome here. You're our favorite type of conservative because the Republican Party sure as fuck doesn't want you. Not you personally.
The conservatives that support Trump the exact people you want to be listening to what you're saying? Like you've got.
I don't know if those people are. I don't know. I don't know if I can reach those.
Pretty
people.
sure he supports Trump. Would you, if you could take it back, would you not do that drinking game with Michael Knowles?
Well, at this point, absolutely, I would take it back. Yeah, me.
You would, okay.
Absolutely. Well, I wouldn't take it back, but the start of it would be me grilling him on the. I would read the first question, and then I would ask him about the insurrection, and then I would do that for probably about 25 minutes till he kicks me off his show. That's probably what we would do.
I think your most interesting arc has been all of these debates you've been doing lately with people that you haven't been able to access in the past. You've been able to have fascinating conversations.
I understand.
That just weren't going on before because you had
listen?
like a level of
I understand.
Being able to
That's
be a
great.
little reasonable.
That's great. When you say that, okay, it's like somebody saying, like, one of my favorite things about you is the fact that your dad is from Kentucky, okay? That's not what I want to be known for. That's not what I want to be remembered for, whatever capacity it is. That's not what I want to be famous for, okay? My strengths are in debate, and I think they're in research, information acquisition, and hopefully some kind of rhetoric, okay? It's not
How are you gonna debate anybody if you have personally attacked them all into oblivion? Every single right-winger on Twitter right now, you've just like...
How am I going to debate anyone when I go on their shows and the only way to talk to them is if I treat them like a Down syndrome-ridden 2-year-old? None of the things I've had were debates. My conversation with Ben Shapiro wasn't a debate. Jordan Peterson wasn't a debate. Candace Owens wasn't a debate. None of these were debates. Seb Gorka wasn't a debate. None of these things have been debates. It's been me going there and then giving them the privilege of surviving a conversation with me saying, wow, I talked to Desi, it wasn't that bad, because I have to treat them like fucking children. Otherwise, they'll be like Constantine, where they shit themselves online because I've dared to fucking challenge the status quo that these centrist, spineless hacks who only carry water for Trump exclusively have managed to do for year after year after year because nobody calls them out on it.
So who is good enough to debate Destiny? Who is good enough?
Somebody that is actually adheres to their principles, can have a challenging and critical conversation without running and screaming, and who's not a sellout. Unfortunately, it's all a bunch of small. That guy that you saw in that last thing that was screaming at me, Rob Knorr, that's one of them. That's the guy who can have a conversation. We can scream at each other back and forth. Who actually reads shit and goes through stuff. There are people in my community that I have conversations with. It's unfortunately just going to be smaller content creators. People like Tim Pool have too much of a vested interest in keeping themselves stupid and keeping their audiences stupid to have critical conversations. That's why they bring people on and they don't prep them on the topics, and they just bring up like fake news on their monitor to read off so that they can have their debates and do their mutual sucking contests. And then same thing with every other quote unquote centrist channel, right? How do you call yourself, Lauren, how do you call your program Trigonometry? And then you get triggered because I have a little joke at some dude getting blown away at some fat at some pro-Putin loser at a Trump rally. That's the thing that triggers you. Like, oh, I can't have this guy on my show anymore. Bullshit. Eat shit, motherfucker. How many jokes do you think this guy has made at BLM people dying? Or do you think he's made Pelosi husband jokes? Get the out of here. Okay, these people are not edgy. They're not centrist. They're not triggering anybody. They're just fucking conservative sucks. That's all they are.
Listen, if Constantine has made a joke about a BLM rider that wasn't actively attacking or trying to kill someone getting, murdered, yeah, I think that was pretty hypocritical. I don't think he has, though. Don't think he has.
Okay, well, I'll go looking for it later on and we'll find out.
Okay, and I'm going to read those indictments. Anyways, I think you'll have a lot more interesting conversations in the future if you just...
Hold on, you're not understanding me. You're not understanding me. You're misunderstanding me, okay? In your world, an interesting conversation is where me and Jordan Peterson see how lightly we can touch our together, okay, for 2 hours, okay, without making the other person come or cry. That's, in your mind, that's an interesting conversation. I don't consider those to be successful conversations. I don't like any conversation I've had this year with any conservative figure. I don't like any of them. All of them have been garbage conversations. I've enjoyed conversations I had in the blood sports era more than any of the conversations that any of these f***ing hacks, okay? So I understand what you're saying. There's like, oh, well, I think that these conversations are good, but they aren't good. They're not good. They were a waste of time. And now I regret that I've let some people slide by thinking that I think the conduct that's acceptable is acceptable when I don't think that it is. That's my issue. So, we'll find out.
So if I read these indictments, will we have a conversation about it later, or because I'm, thinking about maybe supporting Trump, or are we just going to blacklist me from the stream?
I haven't blacklisted anybody. We can have a conversation about the indictments if you want, but I'm not going to blacklist you from my stream. I'm just saying that. Never mind. I won't say that. Listen, if you want to read them and then have a chat with me, then we can have a chat with them. Sure.
But will you fucking hate that conversation? Never want to have it?
If I can have I don't hate conversation. I can have a critical conversation. I haven't had that conversation. I haven't had that critical conversation with any other conservative person. They can't have critical conversations. They break down and they cry and they shit themselves and then they piss themselves and they come all over themselves in the corner, okay? Whenever they are challenged even remotely by any of these things.
All right, send me all of the documents you think are relevant to the conversation we're going to have. I will read them. Might take me a little while, but I will read them and we can have that conversation, all right?
Okay. Be careful. Stay safe.
All right. Bye.
I feel like that her reading is going to end with her saying, I don't see a part in here where Donald Trump says, I want to insurrect the United States of America government. And it's going to be, I'm just kidding. Okay. Just so you know, the reason why I'm so unhinged today is because before I came on, I specially prepared and I watched a YouTube video called Abandoned Plotlines in Game of Thrones. I watched this whole video from start to finish and I was like, okay, you know what? Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to go and have these debates, all right? Why is he... What are you talking about? I remember meeting this kid and thinking, I've never met such a little bitch boy. Seriously, opposite of a man. Bro, when I met these guys at the table, when we met for breakfast, these guys were crying, where they're like, you're not recording anything, right? Because when progressives, sometimes when they come out and they shoot with us, sometimes they make secret recordings of this New York Times guy made a hit piece on us once, and blah, 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 blah. Like, bro, what is this guy talking about? There were like 10 people at this table. What the f*** are you talking about? This guy is like 100 pounds heavier than me and like 6 inches taller than me. You had this hugely negative opinion of me. You sat next to me like a little baby bitch and kept your mouth shut. The f*** out of here. I talked to your kid like the entire fucking time we were eating and you just sat there like not saying anything. Rewrite history. Holy shit. You've been whiffing up too much of that fucking gunpowder on the range, my dude. Jesus. Time to be boring. That's where my career is going. I just want to read shit until Factorio comes out. Biden though? What? It's going to be, I don't care. When is it? Oh, it's just going to be, violence is never acceptable. We can never have violence in this country. We have to turn down the temperature. No violence. He's going to cuck out hard and he's not going to blame Trump whatsoever for his violent rhetoric. That's the big prediction that I'm going to make right here. Biden will not place any blame at the feet of the conservative party right now for engaging in self-destructive rhetoric. Not a single time. He won't do it. He won't do it. He won't do it. I think he will. We'll see. I bet he's not even going to make fun of the guy. I'm just kidding. That Biden, all I see is Biden up +1 in Pennsylvania. God, what a banger. What a banger tweet. What is this guy talking about? Why would he make this? He makes so much weird shit up. Hell, the girl you were with showed more attention to my friends and I than you. What a weird thing to say. When it's for so many reasons. This is such a bizarre thing to say. Isn't this guy married? Like, how is that weird to say? Well, it's weird, one, because it's incorrect. Like, I literally picked her up and she was my friend that I was hanging out with for the weekend there. So nothing that he said is even remotely true, which already makes it weird. And then secondly, it's kind of weird because he's treating like the friend that I'm with as like a sex object to be competed for around a group of people that just showed up to go shooting with each other. Like, he's fulfilling every negative stereotype of like a subhuman, worthless, disgusting, conservative fucking loser. All while being like a married guy. It seems kind of fucking weird to me. But maybe that's the example, I guess, that he wants to set for his kid or his family. But
my fellow Americans, want to speak?
Holy shit. They oranged him up. They gave him the Trump treatment.
Tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support, or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled it before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer, whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or a brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against the sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There's no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record of this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times, that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well. And some have a different view as to the direction our country should take. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, or God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace. All of us now face the time of testing as the election approaches. And the higher the stakes, the more fervent the passions become. This places an added burden on each of us to ensure that no matter how strong our convictions, we must never descend into violence. The Republican convention will start tomorrow. I have no doubt they'll criticize my record and offer their own vision for this country. I'll be traveling this week making the case for our record and the vision, my vision of the country, our vision. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box, no violence on our streets. That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. Within America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. You know, that's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of a would-be assassin. You know, the path forward through a competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. You know, we're blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being. So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit and make America, think about it. What's made America so special? Here in America, everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need to get out of our silos, where we only listen to those with whom we agree, where misinformation is rampant, where foreign actors fan the flames of our division to shape the outcomes consistent with their interests, not ours. Let's remember, here in America, while unity is the most elusive of all goals right now, nothing is more important for us now than standing together. We can do this.
Pragmatically, I think Biden has to say this. Yeah, obviously, he should. He's the president. If you're an elected official, your rhetoric should obviously be dedicated to turning down the temperature. I'm half joking. No, I'm fully joking. I'm sorry. I should have made myself more clear. Biden shouldn't be coming on and saying like, hell yeah, if you get shot, around find out. As the president, he should be telling people to chill the fuck out. That's his job, of course. Now, Trump sure as fuck wouldn't do it, but Biden should be, yes.
You know, from the beginning, our founders understood the power of passion, so they created democracy. It gave reason and balance a chance to prevail over brute force. That's the American we must be. An American democracy where arguments are made in good faith. An American democracy where the rule of law is respected. An American democracy where decency, dignity, fair play aren't just quaint notions, but living, breathing realities. We owe that to those who come before us, to those who gave their lives for this country. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. Look, let's never lose sight of who we are. Let's remember we are the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
Hey, man.
Oh, hey, what's up, buddy?
How are you doing?
Doing great, just hanging out.
How do you feel?
It feels ridiculous. I feel like I'm living in an actual clown world, but too much a clown world.
Do you feel like angry?
Yeah, a little bit.
Can you tell me a little bit why?
I feel upset that conservatives have, it feels like so little moral character that it feels like basically everything is on the table or nothing's off the table. Yeah, everything's on the table, I guess, conversely, yeah. In terms of like the tools that are available to them to operate in this country, I know for a fact that there are, we could probably think of 5 things off the top of our head that if it was the other way around, they would be losing their fucking minds. That if Donald Trump Jr. was charged with a federal crime for doing drugs on a video and then having owned a gun, that if he was convicted for that, that they'd lose their minds. If Biden was telling Kamala Harris to flip electorate votes, they would lose their mind. That if Biden was seeking criminal immunity before a court, that conservatives would lose their fucking mind. That that's irritating to me. I feel like playing nice with any of these centrist fucks has been irritating to me. The guys that are all the staunchest like Trump defenders that all pretend to be centrists, like all the Tim Pools and the trigonometries and like all these fucking losers, is irritating. And I'm upset that I feel like this is something I said, this is what I'm going to do going forward, is every single conversation that every single person in the media has between now and the election, every single conversation needs to start with the insurrection plot. And there has to be agreement from start to finish on that. And if that conversation doesn't happen, then it doesn't go anywhere but from there. I think that part of what triggered me was, I think reading the immunity case and then having that settle in more, and then looking back on the accountability that Democrats have to have at every option, and then thinking of all of the accountability that Trump has dodged, right? That he can't be impeached because he's out of office. He can run for office because Section 3 actually doesn't count. We're just going to get rid of that. That he can't be criminally charged with anything. That all of his friends that have been charged have been pardoned by him. Like, the accountability dodging is insane.
Yeah.
I think you would agree. We can't say for sure because we don't know, but there's a high possibility that all of the cases get tossed either because of some of the presumptive immunity that the state can't overcome, because some of the absolute immunity was needed to prove a wider conspiracy, or because by the time these cases get anywhere, he's going to be the president and he'll just pick a DOJ head that kills the investigations.
Yeah, I think that's, in terms of what you're saying about the specific indictments, that's true that the immunity decision has put a lot of like holes in a lot of these cases. Even the New York case, I think might be, the conviction might be overturned because some of the evidence, not all of it, maybe not even the best part of it, related to conversations that he had with members who were government employees, right?
Although also keep in mind too, you know this, I'm saying more for the audience, but like for a criminal conviction, the standard of proof, you have to present before the jury has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. So when people look at a case and they see like 4 pieces of evidence and like 2 are key and 2 are like, okay-ish, just because you're removing a piece of evidence, like a key piece, you only have to bump it down from that beyond a reasonable doubt, and then the case fails, right? So you don't even have to kill like the main parts of the case to potentially destroy it in front of a jury.
Yeah. You know me, right? And I think your audience knows that I very much am on the train of, I do not like Donald Trump. I think he's a threat to our democracy. And so if anyone, I think, has purchased with you and your audience about how much I agree with you on the fundamentals of the insurrection stuff and trying to steal the election, it's me. I don't know if you remember, and this might be interesting to you. And at some point, I'll bring this up to you.
Sure.
Back in, I think, 2021 or 2022, you had a call with some guy who essentially said that January 6th was just of some frat boys.
Okay.
And I called into your stream afterwards and said, I'm so offended. Like, how can it be? Like, this was like a procedural coup and a violent coup, and we started talking about that. And your reaction was, "Come on, get the fuck out of here. This is just, this wasn't that. I think if there was a plan, I think we would have known more about it. I think other things would have happened."
Yeah.
And I don't blame you, right? Because you didn't have the full factual analysis of what's going on, right? You didn't have access to the indictments. You didn't have access. You maybe weren't up to date on the latest rumors about what investigations were happening. So I don't blame you in that moment, like cosmically, for how you came about to that belief. But I want to, and I do want to address your comments at some point, but I want to just give you the insight that this used to be your belief, right? Because you didn't have the facts. I wasn't able to watch all of your conversations today because I was a little busy. But I saw the very first one you had with a woman who really didn't know about this. And if you don't know about this, right? Not only do your comments seem, you're not going to take your comments well. It's going to be worse. You're going to look like a radical. And I would like to get your response that even you yourself, as smart as you are, as researched as you are, had the opinion that this was no big deal until you looked into the fundamental facts there. And so I would, I want to know your reaction to that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think I did, but I don't know if I offered like a super strong opinion about it. I think that generally if I don't have a lot of the facts on a particular thing, I just tend to not offer like super strong opinions about it.
Yeah,
like you wouldn't find me running around screaming on the internet like, "Oh no, it was just a peaceful thing. It was blah blah blah." Like I think it was just like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think there's enough here." Like I think when I'm even in that tone, I think it was about like, "Oh, I don't know. There's enough here to consider it like an insurrection or a coup." Whether it's because the whole J6 report, the commission stuff, it wasn't out yet, or the indictments weren't out yet, but I didn't have that strong of an opinion on it.
Yeah, listen. I think it was a little bit more heated than that, and at one point I'll show it to you. I think it's
well, we can go over it, but the reason why it got super heated wasn't because well, I'm just saying it wasn't because of our positions. It was because you were asserting something. I felt like you weren't sourcing it properly. The heated part wasn't over the opinion itself.
Oh no, this is before. So I'm not even referencing. Yeah, I understand our long conversation before that. That's not what I'm referencing. I'm referencing years ago. So years ago, before we were talking about the Jan 6 report, before the Jan 6 report even came out, this is pre-hearings. You're
well, sure, because I don't think at that time, I don't think there was, in my opinion, I don't think there was any strong evidence at all to support that at the time. No, it seemed like just a deranged protest that turned riot for some of it.
Well, I actually disagree. The election conspiracy stuff, the false elector scheme, was known even in the course of the election. We knew that they were doing it and they were trying that, and we knew, for example, the Eastman stuff at the time, and that was all coming out live as it was happening. And now it did not reach like a public, a widespread public.
I think it didn't reach like
right?
it didn't reach that widespread public audit. But I think it also helped that I say it helped, but nobody really read them, I guess. When the Jack Smith indictment came out, that the federal case on the Jack Smith indictment laid like all of it out like very clearly. I think until then it was pretty scattershot in terms of like the pieces that were coming out. And there wasn't like a clear public record or clear public accounting of it.
That's fair. The only reason I'm bringing this up in the first instance is if people don't know what they don't know, then just like you don't know what you don't know. Now you could say they have a duty to inform themselves, but they are stuck in these echo chambers. They are. That's a problem. And it doesn't mean that like, okay, we should just forget about personal responsibility and all that stuff. But I would say that there are people that very close to you, who are also stuck, and it's because maybe they're not strong enough or whatever to break out of those bubbles, but they don't deserve your enmity.
I disagree. I think that at a point people do. I understand that people can get stuck in like media bubbles, and I need to read through more history so I can find more examples than just Hitler. But like, I'm sure there are plenty of people that supported Hitler that just like didn't know enough or just didn't have as like an informed opinion. But I don't know if that feels any better. If you're Polish or if you're Jewish and you're like sitting in a camp, you're like, man, those citizens were just misinformed, I guess.
I hear you. That's why I think things that you do, because you have a unique ability. And I'm not glazing you. You have something that a lot of people on our side wish we had, which is you have a very unique voice and an ability to connect with certain kinds of people that other people like just don't and could never have. And it's either it's innate to you or it's trained, or it's a combination. And that's why when I see your comments, not that I don't feel some of the anger about the hypocrisy, I do. I absolutely do. I don't necessarily disagree on points of hypocrisy.
Yeah, sure. I can short circuit some of this.
Yeah.
I'll continue to try to communicate in the way that I do. I will never not make fun of people getting fucked by this. It just won't happen. That's my line. It'll never happen. That's the younger next generation can take over for me or whatever. But in front of these people, I will laugh every fucking time. And if you want to talk me out of that, it'll happen in 10 or 20 years, or it'll be the next whatever streamer that comes along, because I am beyond giving a fuck at this point. To treat people that don't treat the other side as human, for them to grovel and beg for sympathy when they have to, reap what they've sown, so to speak, when the roosters have come up. Fuck that. I'm so far beyond that. So far giving a fuck beyond any of these fucking losers. But go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Can I ask you a question? So, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Do you wish the attempt had been successful?
Do I wish that the attempt had been successful? Fuck, am I even allowed to say anything about that?
You don't have to answer that.
Here's what I'll say. This is what I will say. I don't know, because I'm trying to Fed post or whatever. Here's what I will say. A failed attempt is probably the worst outcome of anything that could have happened. I'll say that much.
I disagree. I think a successful attempt, if that had happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, hold on. We might agree. The successful attempt, it wouldn't be an attempt at that point. The successful, whatever, might be the worst thing that could happen. But if it was the worst thing, it would just because of like the country's reaction afterwards, basically, which is possible. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's.
But I've said this before that like basically the same effect could be achieved if Donald Trump dies of a heart attack. It's going to be the same reaction. People are going to assume that, he was poisoned or some bullshit. Yeah.
I think it's a bit of with respect, a cop out, because I think you trying to separate the reaction of it versus what it. No, these events are inextricably linked. They're connected necessarily with people's reactions to them, and so in every possible way, I think if the attack had been successful, it would have been horrible for this country. It would not have made things better. The people that you argue with wouldn't have all of a sudden woken up and been like, oh, I guess the fake elector plot. It would have been, I don't know. Maybe there would have been.
Sure, I understand that this
would have been right.
This is the issue that I'm having. I understand you're saying like, wow, this would be horrible. And it definitely would be. But like, there's not a, would you agree with this? Okay. I'm giving you like one of the worst case scenarios. Although I will say, the Trump presidency, I think, went worse than any reasonable person could have said. Would you agree with that? That like the Trump presidency probably was worse than any. Yeah. Okay. So the Trump presidency was worse than any reasonable person could have predicted. There is a non-zero chance that Donald Trump becomes president. That like Sidney Powell is the attorney general, and that tomorrow 3 or 4 like leading Democrats end up in jail, and we're not allowed to ask questions about that. And we just have to like sit in an uncomfortable limbo where that happens, and the majority of the Republican Party would support it. There's like a non-zero chance that happens when Trump becomes president. Like at that point, is it like, okay, well, hold on now. Now I know that you're tweeting out saying that like this is horrible and people need to take action, but like really, like it's just jail. Like is violence the answer here? Blah blah blah. Like at what point does the switch flip here? Because for me, the switch flip was, I think the past cases, the Supreme Court cases, and the support for it in the Republican Party.
Yeah, I'm all in on this Constitution in this country. So like, I'm not going to leave the country, and I know I'm about to get to your question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to leave the country if Trump gets elected. I think that one of the reasons why I've been calling on Biden to step out is because I think that he doesn't have as good of chance against Trump as other candidates, because I do think that it's possible that Trump gets elected. And everything I've said about Trump and the danger he represents to the democracy and republic is as true as it was the day I said it, and some person trying to shoot at Trump doesn't change that, or anything I said. Now, you've asked me, when does your mind flip into, okay, now we have to start breaking rules out of and get into Dan world? There's a reason why.
I'm not even saying like breaking rules. I'm just saying like having absolutely no sympathy for when some people break them. Like I don't think that people should go like full, like I've already said, there's like a chain of like you exhaust your legal options, then you exhaust like a nonviolent commitment. And then if you have to, then you go to the final stage of violent protest. But
well, I mean, like, here's a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you, and you can tell me if you don't feel this, it's possible that you don't feel this, and if you don't, I'm not going to judge you if you don't feel it. I actually do feel really bad for the family of the people who died, right? This is a father. This is a family person. Yes, he is stuck in his ways, or maybe he said the Putin thing. It's like, forgive them for they do not know, right? Like, how can I be consumed and such that I am changing my behavior, their ignorance is shaping my reaction and making me look unhinged because something they has been incredibly hard to get out of for most MAGA people, that they weren't able to do it by themselves and without help. Like, I feel bad for that family because I know what it is to lose a father. I know what it is to lose a family member. And that feeling is universal in what it means to people. And so, and those of us who know what that is to lose a family member understand that, like, failing to, that people are flawed, right? People are flawed. People make mistakes in their life. I don't think that's a basis for you or for anybody to take the opportunity in that moment, right, to do something politically ineffective. I don't think so that's a good idea.
I mean, I probably agree. Yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily condone like assassinations or attempted assassinations or shooting. I think it's good. I don't think it's good strategy or anything. Yeah.
Okay, but it's not a good idea because it's not effective. Do you actually feel bad? I mean, think about, you have a family, like some kids who lost their father that day. Is there any part of you that feels bad for what they're going through and the sadness?
Yeah, there's probably a little part of me. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that there is too. And so I actually don't think that you saying that you have, I feel no fucks about this person. I don't think that that's true. I think that there's an anger at the hypocrisy. There's an anger at the double standard. But I think that that's masking what is, I think, like a genuine, maybe it's deep down there, feeling of sympathy for a person whose life was extinguished needlessly and for the wrong reasons. And I think that you focusing on, feeling happy or vindication at this person's death, now you're not going to be able to speak with the same kind of authority on other issues. When other shit happens, as you know it will, people will direct you to your comments.
That's fine. I don't give a f. I didn't take anyone seriously before. It makes zero difference to me. I think I'm trying to find the quote in here. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. There is a lady who does like foreign reporting, and she traveled through the Middle East, in which she was reporting on the Palestinian issue. I think it was in the 50s. And something that she said that was interesting about the sympathy that she had for some of the people there. I don't know if this is a bit racist or not, because of when it was written. Hopefully not. But one of the things that she felt after interviewing so many of them, because she was trying to figure out, like, why do I feel no sympathy, for the way that these people act? And the reason that she felt no sympathy for a lot of them coming away from it was because she realized that they felt no sympathy for any of the Jewish people in the area. That I think she point blank would ask these people, she would say, like, well, why are you fighting? It's like, well, they took our land and we have to fight for it back, and blah, blah. And she's like, well, what do you think they should do? And they're like, well, they should give the land back at least that they took. And she was like, well, if you took land from them, would you give it back? And then they like scoffed and they laughed and they're like, of course we wouldn't give it back. And then she writes a little bit about how, like, this is when I realized why the sympathy levels are so low, and it's because these people have no sympathy for anybody on the other side of the equation. And I think that when I look at the Trumples, I think, like, that's the issue that I have. That this guy is posting tweets about how, here are 4 people, save one, and it's like AOC, Biden, and Hillary Clinton, and then Putin, and he's like, I'd save Putin. And it's like,
but hang on, Stephen, that's a tweet that I think that, okay, I hear you. That's a horrible tweet. I disagree with it.
Okay.
It feels like a tweet that I could imagine you writing.
Sure.
If it were different people.
Sure.
I could see you putting on there, like, a bunch of...
Hold on, just as a real quick sanity check. If I got killed somehow, before this whole thing, if I would have gotten killed somehow 3 days ago...
Yeah.
Do you not think that basically every single fucking right-winger online would be celebrating and memeing and laughing? Yeah, okay. Just to be ultra clear about that. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm just like focused on how can you be the most effective and how can we get to a place we want? You're bringing up the Palestine-Israel example. I think that gets to my point. I understand
and left-leaning people too, not just right-leaning people. Sorry. My bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, look at where we are in that issue. That is one of the biggest disasters that there is right now.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it has been, and I'm probably going a little too far in the other direction, I'll course correct a little bit, but I think a lot of it is because people that have had certain conservative beliefs have been allowed to have them without being like relentlessly fucking bullied for them and without having like massive cultural correction on these types of beliefs. Like, you should be absolutely fucking shamed for supporting Donald Trump, and that like people are engaging with you and not just letting so much shit slide, such that like we have to have 2 weeks of conversation about Biden's mental faculty while not discussing the fact that, for instance, like I don't believe, and point me to it if I'm missing. I haven't searched that hard to be honest. Point to it. I don't think Trump has a like policy platform right now. Does he? Is there like a website or somewhere? Am I missing?
They released a platform. It's pretty broad and it's vague and it's very. I don't disagree. It's cultish to Trump.
Yeah.
In many respects.
We're at like unhinged levels of insanity, and the constant calls that people are making, people like you and people even like me to some extent, of like, well, no, we've got to be better. We got to be better. Like, I don't think that's tenable. I don't think it's realistic to operate in that environment. I don't think anybody can do it. I don't think it's possible. Okay. Something has to change there. If I can't do it, nobody can do it. Okay, not to suck myself off, but I've spent more time in combative spaces than probably almost any other person on the internet that does this type of work. And if it breaks me, there's no fucking shot that an ordinary person, that a trans person who sees somebody get shot and killed at a fucking Trump rally, who had to listen to every single conservative commentator talk about how we like trans people are destroying the country and we need to outlaw all trans, that those people are supposed to feel sympathy, or that that some kind of immigrant to this country, when Trump was saying if you're the descendant of a Mexican, a Hispanic, you can't be a federal judge, that you're too biased to do it, or that we have to like rescind like all the DACA protections, or that we need to block. When Donald Trump came into office, remember his goal, he wanted to block every single Muslim from coming into this country, right? That when you have a person like that and people that support him, and you're begging people on the other side, you're demanding a form of sympathy that the right couldn't muster up in their wildest fantasies, do you acknowledge that position is untenable? That will never happen in any real world, right?
It's untenable in that the views of the societies are mutually incompatible. I agree with you. And what's going on, and there are some people who are so dug in that, it is untenable in terms of finding common ground. I don't disagree with that. But do you remember in Game of Thrones where, I think you were talking about Game of Thrones earlier, Robb Stark has captured Jaime Lannister and he has his wolf coming around and says, you insult yourself, Kingslayer. I feel like you insult yourself right now because you say, even I can't do this, right? Even I can't, if I can't do it, no one else can. You've done it, right? You've done what people thought was impossible. You've converted
but the temperature
MAGA
is getting...
people. Wait, let me finish this.
Yeah.
You converted MAGA people. The reason you gave for sitting down with Nick Fuentes and getting chicken, right? I excoriated for you. Mr. Girl excoriated you for it. The reason you sit down with people who the left forgot, the people on the left didn't want to address, was because you spoke their language. And you still speak their language, because what you're saying right now is getting a reaction. And I think deep down you like the reaction.
Sure, but hold on. There are limits. Yeah. There are limits, right? I wouldn't be like, I can talk to a person who is, I think, racist and argue with them about like, race realism. I don't know if I could walk onto a plantation and have a conversation with a guy who's like whipping somebody. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I have it in me to do that.
Maybe not while they're whipping, and maybe not the whipper, but maybe the person who is the kid of the whipper, right? Imagine how many people, right?
I think I need to see somebody on the other side, like who has influence, making the same calls. I think that if I saw anybody else on the other side, and not like an ex-congressman, not somebody who doesn't matter anymore, who they've completely all thrown out. If I saw anybody on the other side making those same types of advocacy movements, maybe, no, I think it might influence me a bit, or I think it would. But like that side is, not only are they not even saying that like this is wrong or too far, for a lot of them, they don't even accept that it's happened, right? It's not even that they're like, okay, January 6th, sure, it was like an insurrection attempt, but like, you got to understand, like, this is why they did. It's not even that. For a lot of them, it's not even that like, okay, yeah, it was a bunch of crazy fucking riots. For a lot of them, I don't know what it is, if it's 10% or 50%. For a lot of them, there wasn't even any violence. It was just Ray Epps that was like instigating it all, right? So we're not even at the point of them saying like, listen, don't you think you should temper their side? They haven't even acknowledged that it's happened. Or if it is happening, they're saying it was false flags. Where's the Whitmer apologies?
Yeah.
Where like, it's hard to be in a room with those types of people. It's like, okay, well, you got to like talk to them more gently. And it's like, okay.
I don't think you necessarily need to speak. Well, hang on. I don't think you need to speak like they're babies. Because I think that you're right in a lot of these conversations you've had with like kind of very big people, you go on there and you just try to be as the politest version of you as possible, and it feels bad for you. I don't think you need to be totally hinged, right? You can be a little bit unhinged, but I think that there's a line here for us to walk to be effective. And it's almost like, you know, birds when they try to teach their little tiny birds, what are they called? I don't know. The
Messenger pigeons, or
I don't. Birds have young birds that they're
birdlings.
Is there a name like
chicks?
Chicks. They're
Okay,
chicks. That's
yeah.
the word. Yeah. When they're trying to teach them to fly, it takes a couple times, right? It takes the practice. And the people that you're referencing, I know this is a little bit condescending sometimes, but they literally, you said it yourself. They do not have the facts as you do. The facts they have are distorted. They've been given like the wrong ideas, the wrong impressions. They've been intentionally poisoned by the upstream people. And you're pushing them out of the bird nest and be like, why aren't you flying? And staring down at their like on the ground and asking why they've been unable to fly. Just like the first person you talked to, literally
Sure, but I mean, like,
doesn't know anything, right?
Yeah,
about
not
what's
to
going
be
on.
like, not to be horrible and carry your bird analogy on, but like, I mean, that's part of birding, right? Is that when you have a flock of birds, that the mother will routinely toss sick ones or weak ones out of the nest because they don't want them stealing food from the other chickens or the other chicklets or whatever, right? I mean, like,
no, I get you, but don't think about that bird. Think about the
Yeah.
the million birds in line. So you have your mother bird. You have a million birds in line, and the last thing they see is like, you fucking idiot chick. I can't believe you couldn't fly. Okay, next. Like that, I think, is not a way to communicate necessarily where you're going to be at your most effective. Because when you're at your most effective, you're employing convincing rhetoric, but you're not shutting yourself off to the other side. And I think, yes, you have a point to be made. There's a point here, right? One of your points is good. That is the hypocrisy, the double standard. I want to bring that out. That's totally fine for you to talk about. But when you have that to say, and you start by making fun of, even if you think that it's justified to make fun of people who die, who have the wrong opinion or who have wrong knowledge, I'll put that to the side for now. No one is actually listening to your point. Everyone is only listening to your reaction and the emotional nature of your reaction. I'm not going to belabor it because I think that everything I'm saying they're not new things that you haven't considered or you haven't thought about. But that's the only thing I would say is that this election, I agree with all you're saying about its importance and about who Trump is. For you to be your most effective and for you to get other people out of the shadows, to be on your side, I think it requires you to restrain yourself from your deepest impulses, from the most unhinged Nebraska Steve. You don't have to be totally hinged, but pull yourself back from the brink. And I would say refrain from making it seem like you want people who haven't committed any crimes killed just because they're Trumpers. That's the only thing I'd say.
okay, I'll do it next election cycle. But for this one, I don't give a fuck, and I don't give a fuck about two sides again anymore. So
Okay.
I'll wait until the next election cycle, and maybe at that point, I'm either leaving this shithole place or we will or we'll see for the next candidate. Who knows? I love you,
All right,
though, buddy.
man.
Be careful.
Much love. Bye-bye.